2,
2,
1,
1,
start.
start.
Okay, well that was confusing, so I hope I got it right.
That's all right. I mean, no one else will hear it from yours. They'll just hear my little twinkly one. The songs do get better. This was just the first one, and I listened to it. I'm like, this is really grating. I love it. So I put it on. And I figured it would be kind of fitting to have really crappy music in the background of a music podcast.
I have no taste whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's so dense. There's so much going on to it.
Oh, well, sorry. Matt, were you saying something? I gotta send out my
messages.
Yeah, group me messages. That's what it was.
Sorry, I just had a pounce in there.
Alright, PG. Gotta keep it PG.
Yeah.
I
What
mean,
the frick?
who cares? The only reason we were keeping
who
it slightly
cares?
family friendly was because of YouTube, and YouTube is getting bent over backwards.
We actually can't target kids now because then we'll be taken down by COPA.
I don't think we were ever targeting kids. Is the thing. We're trying not to curse.
I don't know with this music.
Man, this could be taken out of context so easily.
Wait, no. I'm in video format. No.
I'm gonna clip this. We are
Target
targeting
audience
kids so
like
hard.
Markiplier or something.
Wow.
Please don't clip this.
This is how I make my money. No, we don't make any money.
We make memories.
Huh, good. Alright, let's send these messages.
Yeah. So you guys have any fun Christmas plans coming up?
Seeing family, not really anything fun. I'm working 3 days out of the week next week. That'll be fun.
Hey,
Imagine
that's
being
fun.
employed.
Hey, you don't have to imagine that. Oh.
I still do.
Well, okay, you're almost there.
Well, I did at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Oh wait, this is the wrong. Let me get it. Chrome is what.
You guys did 3 ELO albums? How did I miss
2.
time?
Oh no, we
Lord.
did 3. Yeah, you're right, we did 3.
Yeah, we did 3. Hence rule number 1.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I missed time, I guess. Wow.
Oh, that's the album I forgot to put on my honorable mentions. I felt like I was forgetting something. There we go. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah,
And
so
it just doesn't stop, does it? Just keeps going.
with this music,
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of like it's like I'm in a cave and the water's dripping music notes on me,
Yeah.
kind of like Chinese water torture.
Wait, how are you guys listening to the music?
Well, I sent it to him.
Oh yeah,
Because I turned on the stream, I was like, this is bad. I can hear repeats of everything.
Yeah, I can. Let me just share the Google
It's
thing
fine.
with you, but then you'll have to.
I don't need it. I don't
Okay.
need it.
All right.
I need it.
There's a real banger at 40 minutes, but I'll just tell you to turn it on when we get to that point.
Right, sounds good.
It's good in the hood. Ooh, can you bring up a little fireplace for our
Ooh, that's a good
active stream?
idea.
Even like a pixel GIF would be good. Like we're sitting around the
Can
fire,
it be like 240p?
like super 144, 2 frames a second. I want to be choppy, some crunchy pixels.
Mm.
Oh man,
Alright, Cooper, I was so sick this last week. It was awful.
were you?
But hopefully I won't get sick during the trip now because of it.
Yeah, kind of get that all out of the way, get it out of your
Yeah.
system.
Oh yeah, I remember how rough you sounded now.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I was almost recovered by the time I talked to you. If I sounded bad then.
Yeah, you did sound bad then.
Yeah, because it's all that EV grinding, wasn't it?
Oh
Took
yeah.
everything out of your system.
Just
Crap.
it drains the soul.
Oh man.
Let's see. All right, you wanted a fireplace. I think I'm gonna have to do. What's the rules on? I don't know what the rules are. Do we care about the rules? I don't think we care about rules.
We don't need rules.
I
Why are
think
we-
rules only
Christmas.
apply to those that actually
What's the rules?
threaten to make money off of something. I think we're just kind of here.
And that is not a threat here.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys are getting paid?
No.
No.
I wish.
Let's see. I listened to some of the Now.
Okay, that's good.
It's a good
I've
album.
listened to I tried to listen to Origins. I couldn't make it through.
No, yeah, that's fair.
I think I remember being physically ill after that album.
It was really bad.
Yeah, I'll have to say
But
about that later
we'll talk
tonight.
about that later. Do
Yeah,
we want
listen to
to
Milo's a little bit.
roll
Go
over
on,
to
what?
the start of this here, Coop? And because I got to change scenes anyway to add the Yule log.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I can do a little introduction.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Audio Shop Podcast.
End of the year Blowout,
yeah,
2019.
Haven't really been doing any podcasts for this month, but that's because it's the holiday season after all, and I was up with
It's
Cooper.
because you
getting-
guys are bad at your jobs.
No, hey. Also, yeah, besides me and Sam, Matt's also here for some color commentary.
Remember
Yeah.
the Green Day dude.
Because I never
Yeah.
removed him from the Discord, so he showed up.
He's officially moved from guest to reoccurring member. A great honor.
All right, let's see if I. Why don't you do some air filler, Cooper, while I.
Yeah,
try
I'll
and-
actually give a little bit of a background to what we're
Yeah.
doing. So, in lieu of our typical album review, right now we'll be going over our weakest and strongest albums of 2019. So basically, we'll be covering the 22 albums that we have discussed on this channel in the year of 2019. And we'll be ranking the top 5 of the ones we like the most, and the bottom 5, the ones we like the least. And a couple of rules we had for this list, just for ourselves. Rule number 1, the same artist cannot take multiple spots on the list, though they can share a spot if you want. Just to make sure we don't front load particular lists with one artist.
That's targeting me.
I mean, it's kind of true though. And then we can also have honorable listens in our picks in case we want to mention someone in. Rule number 3, we won't strictly be following the ratings that we had for our initial reviews. Sometimes, albums grow on you and you listen to them more outside the review setting. And sometimes the more you listen, you kind of think, I don't like this as much long term. So expect maybe some surprises there. And then finally, all opinions are respected. We're going to have a healthy back and forth here. And you can always voice your opinions in the chat if you want. And because music taste is diverse. And there's really no wrong answer. Wouldn't you agree, Matt?
I don't agree, but
Well, that's the only opinion you're not allowed to have.
oh darn.
Okay, I broke everything, so give me a second. I accidentally deleted the background, so everything's just a black screen.
Wow.
And it's
It's a
on
Christmas void.
It's on top now, so I have to move this back down to the bottom.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
there
the
we go.
order of events for tonight will basically be we'll talk about our top 5 weakest albums from 5 to 1, and then our top 5 strongest albums from 5 to 1. And,
I'll
you know,
have to respectfully disagree with you, Cooper.
no, that's... no, you can't disagree on the format of the episode. Okay, we're scratching rule number 4 in Matt's case. He is no longer respected. You can
Oh,
say what he
no.
wants, but I will disrespect it.
Just like in real life.
Oh. Yeah. No, but yeah, this will be a little more of a casual setting. We'll just kind of discuss what we enjoyed so far this year, because we reviewed a full 22 albums. Going all the way back to April 2019 was when we first started. Seems so long ago, doesn't it, Sam?
It really does. It's been a little while.
Oh man, to think. Back then, I was in college. You didn't have a job, and now look where we are.
You're still in college, and I finally have a job.
You've almost got a job.
I was still in school when we started.
Oh yeah, whatever.
We started
took
like
notes
just
for
before
you guys.
finals, which was pretty dumb. We shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have did that. Okay, I'm having some real trouble with this Yule log, Cooper. I apologize.
Why don't you just play it on your screen and do a display capture?
Well, see, I tried to do that. I tried to do window capture, and I added the Yule log screen, and it just was white. It just comes out white.
Huh.
I think you're bad at technology.
I mean,
I would agree.
I don't know what I'm doing, man.
Oh shucks. Ah well. We can just keep the standard background.
Well, see, I was able to get it to come up, but it would have the sound.
Oh, Oh, the crackle? That's not too bad.
Well, I'm not sure how loud it was. Is the thing.
Well, why don't you just mute the YouTube video then?
No, Matt, it's opening a browser in OBS. And if I
What? Just do
paste-
a display capture.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, and it comes up white. It doesn't work. I'm trying to tell
Hey,
you.
you added a browser source.
Yeah, and I do this.
Oh, while you're doing that, I'll go through the full album list just to make sure everyone remembers exactly what we reviewed this year. Oh, hey, I like that.
How loud is the crackling, though? Also, it says YouTube.
Yeah, so just going through some of the albums we talked about this year.
It's no louder than the background music. Oh, sorry, never mind. Keep going, Cooper.
So in chronological
Well, how does it sound,
order,
though? Sorry, go ahead.
In chronological order, we started with the Now
What
Now,
was that sound?
and then we did When We All Fall Asleep, Dragon Ball Wave, The Wall, Come to Daddy, Origins, Do Things, Forever, Ready to Die, Milo X Lodo, Time, America, Hawaii Part 2, Pray for the Wicked, 21st Century Breakdown, Can't Stop, Shan't Stop, Apricot Princess, How to Be a Human Being, Emergency on Planet Earth, OK Computer, and Alone in the Universe, and From Out of Nowhere. So, a healthy chunk of albums, I'd say.
Okay, we're just gonna leave this awkward YouTube thing with the crackling fire. I can't figure it out. I'll do this later.
I kind of like it better this way.
If it was too professional, then people would try and take us seriously, and
No, I like it's like a computer screen in a computer screen.
exactly. I just wish that it was dark theme YouTube.
I like the piercing white light.
But it blends in with the background.
True.
Exactly.
True. Maybe in the new year we should switch over to a dark theme,
Oh yeah, that'd be a good New Year's resolution.
especially since our stream is literally
Revolution.
just a white
Revolution.
screen.
Oh, but yeah, I think now that we get the background set up, we can actually jump into our top 5 albums.
Did you already explain the rules? I wasn't listening.
I did.
Okay.
So we all know how to get from there, and I think it's appropriate if we start with our top 5 weakest albums of the year. So we can always end on a high note.
I agree.
I agree.
Hey, we did it, boys.
So would you like
We
to go
got-
first, Cooper?
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna come right out of the gate with something maybe a little controversial in our group, with us saying number 5. So this is my 5th weakest album of the year. I'm gonna have to start with From Out of Nowhere by Jeff Lynne's ELO.
I'm sorry to announce that this is the last episode of the Audio Shop podcast.
I like to explain our reasoning here.
Um,
I think we reviewed a lot of pretty decent albums this year.
due to
So
some
top 5.
pretty serious complaints between myself and my co-host Cooper Pratt, we're shutting it down. Everything's closing. That's it.
Well, to explain my reasoning, I don't think this is a bad album by any means. But for me, this was one of the more disappointing albums of the year, you know? Because I love ELO as much as the next guy. Or maybe not
Am I the
you,
next
but...
guy?
Yeah, you're the next guy, not Sam.
I take offense to that.
But, so, it's not a bad album by any means, but I think it kind of falls into a kind of a formula that Jeff's kind of not really branching out of. And in this case, it doesn't present anything new from ELO. And it's really just kind of a bit more phoned-in version of Alone in the Universe. So I just really wanted a new good ELO album. We kind of got one that's more mediocre than anything. So that's kind of why it's one of my top 5 weakest albums of the year.
I will agree that it does not live up to the ELO name, but I will say it did grow on me quite a bit afterwards. When I was driving up to visit Cooper, I had the urge to listen to Sci-Fi Woman and one of the other ones. I can't remember what it was. But it came back, and maybe it was because I was listening to other ELO songs, but it's besides the point.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is the most recent one that we've reviewed.
Yeah.
So maybe I do need some more time, but as it sits right now, it was a little disappointing for me.
It was disappointing, but I wouldn't say it was one of the 5 weakest.
I was actually having a hard time choosing one of the 5 weakest.
I agree. I had a very difficult time, except for number 1 and number 2. For the rest of them, it was
Yeah.
like, eh. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing...
no, there's some stinkers, but not as many.
Right. It was the way I did it. So to give the viewers, i.e. Matt, the only one who's here listening, he's also a part of the podcast.
Hello, I am Matt. I am part of the podcast.
I didn't take any notes except for the album names, because this is all coming from the heart. And it would be dishonest to go back through and listen to every album. And I want my opinions down the road, you know. I had forgotten some of these albums. Oh yeah, we listened to that, didn't we? So it had to have left a lasting impact for it to make on either list.
Okay. That's fair.
Because if I look back and I'm like, wow, I really hated that when we listened to it. I can't even remember it now. Well, then clearly, you know, something else was worse. Because I can remember how bad it was.
I think that's flawed logic.
I think you're flawed logic.
Because you can forget something that's still, like, pretty good, but remember something that's bad.
I had no issue with the 5 strongest, I'll tell you that. I was saying I had issues with writing out what I thought the weakest ones were.
Right, but if you put something... Pratik's in chat. He did it. Anyway,
Madland.
if you put something in the weaker list just because you forgot about it, but it wasn't actually bad,
No,
but you didn't listen back to it to confirm.
No, I'm just saying, when I was writing my strongest, it was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to put on this list. But when I was writing the weakest, I had to be like, okay, no, I don't really... I know 3 of them, but the other 2 I can't really remember where they fall in my ranking. So I had to go back and do some thinking.
Well, what was your number 5, Sam?
My number 5 was now I would say 4 and 5 for me are far away from 3, 2, 1.
I am agreement in my list as well.
Because it was just like I don't know if we reviewed enough to have... We definitely reviewed enough to have 5 strong ones. But for the weak, I feel like to list it as a weaker one, like to put these first 2 along with especially my top 2 is just a disservice to the albums. Because they're not in any means bad albums. They just weren't my favorite. So
Yeah, that's fair.
That's for 5, 4, 3 for me. But number 5, I put Ready to Die by Notorious B.I.G. And it wasn't bad. It just, you know, I remember at the time when we were reviewing it, listening to it felt a bit like a chore, you know?
Ooh.
And I don't want listening to music to feel like a chore. I want it to be enjoyable. And there were some very enjoyable songs in there, but my overall feeling I remember is I gotta sit down and listen to this album. So that's why I put it at number 5. Now, I will come out and say there are, you know, based on the feeling I had when I listened to any of these, some of them could slip into that spot. But my bottom 3 on the weakest are far away from my top 2 on the weakest.
Which is fair. I mean, hip-hop's never been your genre, per se.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally liked Ready to Die. You know, it's one of the seminal albums of rap albums of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I can see how if you're just diving in for the first time, it can be a bit much.
Yeah, and it's not like I didn't enjoy listening to it. It's just there's nothing else on the list that I could think of that I could put instead of that, you know?
Yeah.
It just ended up being the weakest because we only listened to 22 albums. Like, it feels like a lot, but that's not very much.
Yeah, top 5 and top 5 of both is, 10. That's almost half.
Yeah, that's categorizing half the albums as weak felt a bit much.
Yeah. Well, we could go into number 4 and get closer to those ones that we both agree are definitely not good.
I'm curious to see if our thoughts line up on 1 and 2. I haven't looked at what yours are. I know you've been looking at mine.
Though, yeah, so number 4, you probably won't like this one either. So my 4th top 5 weakest album of this year is probably Can't Stop, Shan't Stop by Mr. V, the Gentleman Rhymer.
I cannot blame you for that one.
So this one, again, I don't think it's bad, but it's so gimmicky. It's kind of like some of the worst Weird Al Yankovic albums.
No. I think I think the issue is, Cooper, that there were some older rap gimmicks in there that you really despised, and they were my first exposure to it. So I'm like, this is really jaunty. I like it.
It was jaunty, all right.
Yeah.
And like, it has some legitimately good flow, some legitimately good rhymes. But it, the novelty of it it doesn't have much lasting appeal to me. Like, I have no desire to come back to this album in like a recreational sense.
I agree. There was a while there where I was coming back to it, and then I just suddenly stopped all of a sudden.
I mean, I don't regret listening to it. I thought it was a fun listen the first time through. But, you know, you can only ride on a gimmick so hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was enough.
My number 5 was Milo X Loto by Coldplay.
You're number 4.
You're number 4.
And also, you're wrong and should leave.
I'm sorry, Matt, but I'm
This was actually a suggestion by Matt for us to review. So Matt's a little more ride or die for Coldplay than Sam.
I'll
It's
say
their
this.
best album.
It is a good album, but I think I'm just sick of Coldplay. I'm sorry. It's been around. My parents listened to it so much, and I think that's what put it here. It's a fine album, you know. I definitely prefer it to any of their other albums, but it's just, I think, fatigue.
That's fair. Coldplay's got a very particular sound that they lean into every album. I mean, personally, it's my second favorite Coldplay album after Viva
What's
La
your
Vida.
first one?
Viva La Vida. I'm basic, yeah, I know.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
okay, I
Viva
take
La
it back.
Vida,
I might
Milo
like that
Zelluto,
one.
and X and Y are all like pretty
X and
good
Y
for
is
being
pretty-
top.
Russian Blood to Their Head is pretty good too, but
I don't think I've heard that one.
oh, you should listen to it.
But
That's-
off topic.
Oh yeah, so going back to the list.
Ah, well.
Yeah, no, I can understand how Milo X Loto. It's a very bright pop, right?
Mm-hmm.
A very particular sound. I can see how you can kind of be turned off by that.
I have a number 4.
Oh,
What's your number
Matt?
4?
Sam. So I mean, this one again, I guess kind of like what you guys are saying. I don't know if it was that didn't really feel bad, but I got bored enough listening to it, or I guess it wasn't my cup of tea where I didn't finish. It was Apricot Princess.
Yeah. I
I
can see
just
that.
I couldn't finish it. And that's about it. I don't think I was like necessarily turned off or I thought it was horrible. I just didn't want to finish it.
That was an honorable mention for my top 5 weakest. I don't know. It just didn't jive with me. There were some that were good.
I know you
but
didn't care for it as much as I did, Sam, when we initially reviewed it.
It was certainly good, but not my cup of tea.
Yeah. And then we can bounce down to our bottom 3 of the list, 3, 2, and 1 of our weakest albums of the year. And actually, Sam, looking at both our lists, ours is the same one.
Oh, did we actually put the same thing?
Yeah, for number 3, ours is Pray for the Wicked by Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, and I imagine I speak for both of us without reading your notes, since I didn't write any. It's just the disappointment. We're not mad, we're just disappointed. Because the previous Panic album, his first solo album, was amazing. It was great. Some of the greatest songs of Panic at the Disco. And then this one was...
It was a major drop-off.
It was just
the guy still has a
copy-paste.
great voice, but the album's just generic.
And he didn't use his voice ever. He just stayed in the
he
same
did.
range. He didn't go up and down like he's, there was no Death of a Bachelor on there, and that's kind of basic, but it's a popular song for a reason. He's got a very good voice and he uses it in that song.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's overblown pop. It's kind of being important for importance sakes, and nothing was really memorable about it. And some songs were just straight up bad, like they weren't enjoyable. This at this point, this is the teetering point to like whether it goes from like a mediocre, forgettable album to like an actual bad album. And this one's like on the cutting edge of like me flipping back and forth between that. Just because
I would not listen to this again by choice.
Yeah, it's kind of a not creatively. Yeah, it's not a creatively bankrupt album, I don't think, but it's certainly approaching it. It's like it's phoned in. It's he's done better work, and all the songs are basically forgettable. There's no real eye catcher.
Yeah.
So we can agree on that one.
Surprisingly, I figured these would all be very different.
Yeah, our worst lists have more in common than you'd realize. Our top 5 lists are pretty different.
Yeah,
but
I imagine the top 5 are different, but I guess it's a bit surprising our weakest are lining up.
because actually our number 2 are also the same.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah, we did not corroborate this, audience. This is just natural. Where it was the Come to Data EP by Aphex Twin.
Now, I will preface that I remember when we did that review, that was the night before my first final, and I was already sleep deprived.
And this is the worst This is the most stressful album to listen to.
Yes. I trusted Cooper to pick an album for this, and it just made me even more stressed.
Yeah, I just picked a random EP. I'm like, oh, this has some good things about it.
Electronic.
It's electronic to the max. I don't think you listened to this one, Matt.
I did not listen to this one.
Nor should you.
I really can't recommend it. It's basically like in the 90s, a big experimental electro album that inspired people like Skrillex, right? That kind of kind of
like a blender in your ear.
Have you ever dropped a big metal pot on the ground and thought, I could jive to this? This album might be for you.
That's basically the track Bodacious Bouncing Balls, I think was the title.
Bouncing Metal Balls, I believe.
Yes, or just literally 6 minutes of metal ball sounds. It's experimental, I'll give it that. The reason it might not be the top album of this of the worst is just because I can respect it doing something different. I've never heard anything like this before. It's basically so industrial, it's literal noise at times.
You ever been at
the cojones of having a 5-song EP and 3 of those songs being the remix of one song, and then also not sounding alike at all.
They're not a remix, they're all just individual songs with the same name.
It's definitely interesting.
You ever been at a concert and you hear a noise and you're like, wow, man, that's really bouncing. I could get down to that. And you walk over and it's just a generator running to power the lights. This album might be for you.
That's Aphex Twins. I'll give it the award of being the only album on this list to make me laugh out loud.
Yeah. Well, no. Okay, yeah, I didn't. I think I know what your top is because it sounds like we have the same. And I was not laughing during this one. It just hurt.
So just because of some, it goes to extremes, and it doesn't pay off for me. But hey, it did something new.
The cover art's funny. I'll give it that.
Just have good cover art.
The dude's face copy pasted onto 6 different kids.
But fortunately, even though this is literal just metal clashing noise, it somehow still beats both me and Sam's number 1 spot of the year, and that's Origins.
Yeah.
Also Mass. Origins by Imagine Dragons.
And I'd like to also point out, this is the one that our other guest recommended, Carmen. She hadn't listened to this before she recommended it, did she?
No, she's just an Imagine Dragons fan. She wanted to listen to a new album.
Uh-huh. I had to stop halfway through. I got a headache. I actually got sick from this album.
I actually got a headache as well.
It was so bad.
I was very drunk. And I still couldn't finish it.
I know there's all those people online that are like, oh man, modern music's so bad. This one actually almost made me sick.
This is the soundtrack to bad modern music.
I don't know how they did it. I'm almost impressed that they managed to make me physically ill through noise.
It's like this overblown millennial pop that's so surface level, so pretending to say something important. Well, isn't a literal line on this album why can't the races come together? Hold hands. I'm yo, Imagine Dragons. I agree with the sentiment, but you're so straightforward with it. And yeah, it's like I described it as eating cotton candy but it actually tastes like cotton. There's no substance there and it tastes bad.
But I'm trying to think, how many songs are on this album? Because I'm pretty sure there's only 2, even though it's a 10, 12 song album. Oh no, it's 15, right? That's why it was so bad. 15-song album.
It's a long album. It's overblown. Most of the songs they range from terribly generic to just terrible. And honestly, the most defining trait of this album is just how unpleasant it is to listen through all the way through.
I just tabbed back into our review of this at the beginning. I can see how detailed I was being. 2 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, 2 lines, and then suddenly you get to song number 10, 1 line. Gotta be honest, I think it's time for a break. That's the only thing I wrote. And then you jump to 14, the song title Burnout. Great description of listening to this album at this point. And then I started a second line and then just stopped mid-line. I couldn't even finish my thought. And for the last one, I didn't even write that. I just stole a quote from somebody.
Yeah, this album feels like it didn't put in the effort. And, like, it doesn't want the listener to put in any effort either.
Mm-mm.
And it's just not enjoyable. I honestly can't think of a positive quality that it presents to the listener.
It's better than having nails shoved in your ears.
That is true.
9 times out of 10.
Maybe it's supposed to represent how everyone's tired of people rehashing origin stories.
If it is, that's a big brain move, and something I do not applaud them for, because that...
If it is, I wish I had that much money to waste.
I mean, Imagine Dragons has made, catchy pop tunes. They're not my favorite band, but they've made some good songs.
Well, they did that Chemicals song, right? Is that Imagine
Dragons?
Yeah,
Radioactive.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Their first album's actually, it's got some good bangers on it. But this one, I don't know what they decided to do. I don't know if they just gave up or, just didn't feel like trying. But, man, here's hoping their next one just doesn't sound like this. If they do make a next one.
They might not make a next one. That might be it. They might have...
This might be the nail in the coffin.
They might have, as I like to say...
I doubt that, but...
As I like to say, they might have built a nail factory around that coffin.
No kidding, they're spitting him in. Yeah, I think this was the only album that we both gave our worst ranking on.
Yeah.
And it was well-deserved, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if we had listened to a bit more balanced repertoire, i.e., this one and Come to Daddy not in there, I think it would have been interesting to see what the bottom two would have been.
Yeah, but with such obvious choices, we kind of had to go with it.
Yeah, it would be interesting if we had very steady, good albums, and then be like, well, how do I justify putting something at number 1? So.
But sometimes it's also fun to just be able to roast an album.
Yeah, we did. I felt kind of bad when Karma was there, but she hated it too. So
yeah, that was also true. Our one guest who was actually an Imagine Dragons fan also despised this album, so that says something. Not even someone who enjoys the band can get much out of this album. Yeah. So yeah, that's why it's the worst album of 2019 for us.
Yep. I mean, it came out in 2019, so I think that's just safe to say it's the worst album of 2019.
And I agree as well. I've not listened to one since listening to it as bad.
Let's see if critics agree with us.
Oh, see if we can get the consensus.
Yeah. Worst album of 2019. Let's see. This is album of the year.
Oh, it came out in 2018.
Oh, did it? Okay, let's revise then. Oh, I could have sworn it came out in 18 or 19.
It was November 2018, so almost.
Huh. All right, well, you barely made it.
You're not technically the worst album of 2019 because you weren't released in there.
Mm-hmm. See, this list doesn't have it in the top 5, but I'm not sure how I should trust it since it has Tenacious D at number 3.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, Origins made number 10 on their list.
Okay, I can respect that.
So, that's saying something.
Yeah, I know. It's got pretty low ratings across the board. The Newsday gave it 4 out of 3.5 out of 4 stars.
That's way too generous.
That's very generous. Wow. Imagine Dragons finds new depth.
I'm pretty sure there was no depth in that whatsoever, unless you consider.
I got a migraine. That's new.
Yeah, unless you consider a kiddie pool deep.
Yeah, that was our worst ones. But now we can move on to some more positives, and I think we'll have some interesting things to say about our next section, which is our top 5 strongest albums that we've reviewed of 2019.
I can't imagine we're gonna line up at all on this.
Oh, I feel like we're going different places. I was looking at your
I disagree.
Okay, you can't. Yeah, you really got to pick your battles, my dude. No, but I think we can say that we reviewed some pretty good albums this year, Sam. So I know I'm assuming for the top 5, but we can get to that before we get to our number 1.
What'd you say, Cooper? Sorry, you completely cut out there.
Oh, sorry. I said I'm sure you have some top mentions or some honorable mentions, but we'll say those right before we do our number 1 pick.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so I guess if you don't mind, I'll start off with my number 5.
After you
the
get
top 5 strongest albums of 2019, and I'll say This one, Sam suggested. It was a Sam original, and I've really grown to like. And it was one of the most unique album experiences that we've listened to this year, and that was Hawaii Part 2 by Magical Musical.
Miracle Musical.
Sorry, Miracle Musical. My mistake. Where this album just has a vibe all its own.
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels like listening to like pop songs that are really 20 years from the future, even though this came out like 10 years ago. It's very forward-thinking. Each song presents something new, and while I don't think every experiment's a success, the whole album's enjoyable to listen through just to see what they come up with next.
Yeah, and it added something to our vocabulary called the miracle musical disease, where in the last minute of the song, you just write a whole new song.
Yes, and it's somehow better than the 5 minutes preceding it.
Well, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's much worse. But I think that's a symptom of the Tally Hall disease, which he was in before he was Miracle Musical, because they do that too. So, but sadly, Hawaii Part 2 was the only album released by Miracle Musical, and it doesn't look like he's ever going to release another, because that was 2011.
Yeah, which is a shame. So, hey, you never know. Fingers crossed. I'd love to hear another project from them.
But then again, maybe he comes back and it's absolute crap. So do you want to end on a high, or do you want to hope for something better, So
Hardly end. He barely started. But I feel like Miracle Musical, they have some extra tricks up their sleeve that they could make an album, especially after 10 years, right? That's enough time to get something together.
True. You'd hope, anyway.
I'd hope.
I don't think I could write an album after 10 years.
Oh, that's why we're the ones reviewing the albums and not writing them.
It's much easier to review it than make it.
Yeah. And then what about you, Sam? What's your number 5?
So I have my number 5 as Forever by Mystery Skulls. So this is an album I've been listening to since junior year of high school, maybe earlier. I think I listened to it actually when it just came out. That would make sense, yeah, because it came out in like 2014, 2013, I can't remember. But it's got a lot of good songs on there. Ghost is the classic. It's his most popular song. And then there's Hellbent, which is the best song to speed to.
And you have.
And I have, multiple times. I don't know, it's just whenever it's actually, nice outside and I can actually go running, that's the album I would kick on to boost me in my run.
It's a good high energy album.
Mm-hmm. Put some pep in your step.
Oh yeah. And I think it's got that good pop energy. It's able to do something more interesting than Panic or Imagine Dragons were able to do with their pop sounds.
And it's a little bit more electronic too. I was in a bit of electronic mood earlier in the year.
Are you ever not?
I haven't really been recently. I don't know what mood I've been in. I haven't been able to listen to music since I've just been sitting at my desk. Because if I'm sitting at my desk, I'm just going to watch something. Why would I listen to music when I have a screen?
You can watch music.
Yes, music videos.
No, that's not as much fun.
No, I think that's a good number 5 choice, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
You have another number 5, Matt?
I do. It is The Now Now by Gorillaz. Only because right now it's because I haven't actually listened to all of it, but everything I've listened to so far I've liked.
It's top quality, I'll tell you that. It's
a good album. And not to spoil anything, but I think we'll be hearing about it more later in my list.
Yeah, as well.
Ooh. But before then, we can move on to our number 4 pick. And this one, I know Sam, you didn't vibe with this album as much as I did, but I felt I had to stay true to myself and put it on. And that was Do Things by Dent May. And I think this was just a treat of an album. I know he has some interesting vocal stylings that you didn't necessarily care for. But I think the instrumentation goes interesting places. It has some of the catchiest hooks I've heard in alternative pop songs. And it was just a tight set all around. I don't think there's a single song of the album that I outright dislike. Though there are some, middling ones. So it just got some banging singles, and just listening through it again recently, it puts the pep in my step, as you were saying. So I think it's a good kind of alternative, quirky pop album. That's a bit of a diamond in the rough that I keep coming back to.
I can't say I remember a single song on that album, so it left no lasting impact on me.
Oh, thanks for having the nice things to say about it, Sam.
There's my glowing review.
I know you didn't like it as much as I did when we initially reviewed it.
Yeah.
So, but I liked it, and if you have a chance, you should check it out.
Jumping to my number 4 then, the ever classic America by America. You know, it's got, who doesn't know Horse with No Name? Everybody always sings along when that comes on the radio.
It's a classic.
And then introduced me to Riverside, which is one of my, probably my favorite song by them now. And it's such a good album, you know? What other album is completely acoustic and the drummer doesn't play a drum set but plays bongos? It's just a good album.
Definitely a very almost outback energy. You know, like you're on the frontier. But also, like, you're, like, chilling on the frontier, you know? Instead of, like, dying of dysentery.
Exactly.
That's not the energy we need. This is a dysentery-free zone on Audio Shop. And what about you, Matt? You got a number 4?
My number 4 was Emergency on Planet Earth.
Ooh, good choice.
Jamiroquai.
Yeah, surprised myself a little. I've listened to it actually a lot since you guys reviewed it, and I don't remember there being even any bad songs on this album for me, except for, I guess, the really long didgeridoo thing.
Oh, that was great. What are you talking about? Who doesn't love some didgeridoo?
I mean, it's alright, but can't really vibe with that.
You can't vibe with a 4-minute set of didgeridoo noises?
Nope. I know, hard to believe, but...
These guys aren't even Australian. I think they just really like the didgeridoo.
Who doesn't? It sounds amazing.
Oh, it sounds good. You know, just it's not something you want to carry on the song.
Not for minutes.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you like it. You should definitely check out their other work if you haven't yet, Matt.
I should. I think I know what you're talking about.
Because his next couple albums are also awesome. I actually like them a bit more than Emergency on Planet Earth, but
I'll have to get a listen during work then.
And it's got less
Tomorrow.
didgeridoo, if it makes you feel better.
That's already a plus in my book.
It still has didgeridoo though. It's not enough.
I'm okay. I'll settle for less.
Oh man. Well, moving on from number 4, we're entering the top 3, baby. And this one's actually a bit of a dual choice for me. And I'm going with Alone in the Universe / Time by ELO.
Too low.
And if you have listened to our podcast for any amount of time, you'll know that ELO is near and dear to our hearts, particularly Samuel's. I think it's fair to say it's probably his top 3 favorite bands are all ELO.
Yeah, if he hadn't have made that rule, I imagine my top 3 would have been those.
But so speaking of this is so we reviewed both Time, which was I think ELO's like 4th album, right?
Around there.
Which came out back in the 70s, and then Alone in the Universe was actually just Jeff Lynne's ELO, which came out in like just this decade.
2015. Yep.
Yeah, 2015. So some new ELO and some old ELO. And Jeff Lynne's proven on both of them that he still got it. I mean, Time's the instant classic, channeling some of ELO's best energy and just kind of space-time odyssey, while also having like kind of a coherent story. Well, Alone in the Universe is a lot more the emotion of it, right? Growing older, kind of having that sadness while still keeping some bangers in the song. Some of the best songs to date, honestly, from ELO.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. These songs have like the synth, the electronica. It's rock. And it's hard to beat a band that's got such a storied history and has made so many good songs.
We're going to start getting a little bit repetitive here since my number 3 is The Now Now by Gorillaz.
Hey.
I know that one.
So I will say I do quite enjoy The Now Now, but it's not my favorite Gorillaz album.
That's fair.
There's another one that would be here if we had listened to it, but we didn't, and I listened to the Now Now quite a bit still, so it's it's always something to kick on in the car, or if I'm trying to relax. Very relaxing one, not as high energy as previous albums. I'm excited for the next Gorillaz album to see what they do.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll probably review another Gorillaz album in the coming year.
We definitely have to get to Plastic Beach and Demon Days and
Yeah, because we got some good Gorillaz songs, albums in the future. Yeah, and then what about you, Matt? What are you thinking for number 3?
My number 3, get this, is Alone in the Universe.
Hey, look at that.
wow. Too low.
So, what?
Nothing. Didn't say
Too low.
anything.
You want to say that again? Anyway, as you all know, I do like songs that have a lot of emotion in them. Yeah, I listen to a lot of emo crap, but it's very hard. Specifically, I guess so. I listen to a lot of things, where singers, either get a gravelly voice or scream or whatever, yell to add to emotion. And I think it's very hard thing to do to just sing and have so much emotion carry through the music, and this album does it very well. So this is actually probably one of my favorite albums ever. But
Wow, high praise.
I can get behind that.
So this is a good. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sam supports that sentiment. No, but I completely agree. And it kind of goes back. I probably honestly wouldn't have ranked From Out of Nowhere as low as I did in the top 5 weakest if I hadn't listened to Alone in the Universe
wait.
right before it.
Cooper, I'd like to draw the attention to the music real quick.
Oh my!
A little bit. This is one of Kevin MacLeod's Christmas songs, I would like to point out. So I had to throw it in the mix.
I'm guessing you can't hear it, Matt.
I'm trying to listen to it through the stream, and it's very hard.
I turned it up.
Ooh boy.
It's sounding like farts.
It is.
I think it's
I'll turn it up even
Joe.
more. The instrument is listed as the bum trumpet.
Oh wow, our viewership just jumped up to over 5,000. Oh, and it'll drop down again.
Oh,
We lost the influx. It was our one time to shine.
turning it back down. Sorry, that was the 40-minute mark that I was talking about. The absolute banger.
It definitely made noises in my ears. I'll give it that. But yeah, and then want to move on to number 2, Sam?
Go for it. Oh, you wanted me to do it?
Yeah.
So again, we're going to be super repetitive for these, it seems. My number 2 is Hawaii Part 2 by Miracle Musical. I listen to 3 of the songs from the album almost every time I get in the car, because I like to sing along with them, and that's what makes an album lasting in my mind, is how often do I want to listen to it, and since I want to sing along with it, I listen to it quite a lot. So introduction to the Snow, not Show, like we accidentally said. Island to Thyself, Murders, actually I should say 4. Murders is really good, and then The Mind Electric is really good. And the whole album's pretty good, except for, what was that? The one with the Japanese title. That one was not very good. Whole album's really good, though. I'll listen to that whole thing every day. Just a very solid album and a permanent addition to my, heavily played playlist. Which, that's hard to get on there for me, because I don't like listening to new music all that often. So
yeah, it was an excellent album.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my number 2 coming in, I have to say, it's a little album you already heard of, is Emergency on Planet Earth by Jamiroquai. And I'll echo Matt's sentiment there of just being, this album it just makes me smile. It's just such a happy album.
Mm-hmm.
That was catchy.
It has such catchy energy. It's got this acid jazz funk, and it's their first album too. To have such a well-defined sound coming right out of the gate is impressive in itself.
Because they didn't really change their sound.
You can't tell who the singer is. Like, what is he? A male?
Is he a woman? A woman? Is he white? Is he black?
Is he white? Is he black? You just don't know.
JK
I thought it was a woman.
All of us. Yeah, Sam thought it was a woman initially.
I also thought it was a woman initially on my first listen through. On the second listen through, I started to suspect it was a dude.
I never
But
suspected
I thought it was
a
black.
dude.
I thought he was black also.
No, JK's an English man.
I thought it was a woman.
But his vocals are so sweet. And he's got such interesting instrumentation. Sure, this album relies a little bit heavily on the didgeridoo.
It's
But
only
for
a
me,
positive.
Well, it's isolated, so it's forgivable.
yeah, it's not too much, but it adds to the character of the album. And it's such a strong album. It still feels unique, like, after this released in like '93, so like 25 years ago. It's basically one of the strongest band outings I can think of, and it's a pleasure to listen to every time. And I don't even think it's the best Jamiroquai album, so that just goes to show how much I care for this band in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, maybe one day I'll get to shake JK's hand. That's all I can dream of. He'll sign my didgeridoo.
Do you have a didgeridoo?
I can get one.
You'll have to play it for us.
Play it live on air.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can play didgeridoo wrong, so that's kind of reassuring.
I bet you'd find a way.
Nah, I probably would blow into the wrong side of the hole.
Why isn't it making noise?
I think this is just a rain stick. Oh man, what about you, Matt? What's your number 2?
My number 2 is, of course, Milo Xyloto.
Isn't it Xloto?
Xloto, sure, why not?
Anyway.
Anyway,
I don't know how it's pronounced.
this was the first full Coldplay album I listened to in high school, and I would just listen to it on repeat during study session. Every study hall, I would listen to it. It'd be enough time to listen to it all the way through once while I did my work. And that's what I did. I don't think there are any bad songs on here. It's super dynamic, where all the songs don't really sound the same. Except for, I guess you can argue, like, Paradise and Every Teardrop is a Waterfall is pretty similar. But it's very dynamic, and I really like albums that bring a story. Even though, no matter how abstract it is. Actually, I think I like even stupidly abstract stories better. But
I just want to hit down a quick fast forward, but still like your themes.
And of course, they had Rihanna on it, so like.
That's true. Process of China is a banger.
All right,
That
I
is a
forgot
very
about
good song. So yeah, that's my number 2.
Yeah.
So
Nice,
before
and
we get to the number 1s, we should do our honorable mentions. And I'm going to talk here for a minute, since this crackling fireplace and soft Christmas music is kind of putting me to sleep. Probably doesn't help that I'm drinking some nice warm tea too, so I'm very relaxed.
This is chill time hours.
Yeah. But my honorable mentions, in no particular order, were The Wall. Can't forget that. Classic album. Can't Stop, Shan't Stop. I was a bit more of a fan of it than Cooper, but I don't think it... I think that if I were to have to rank these, that would probably be on the bottom of the honorable mentions. From Out of Nowhere, which, while I was disappointed, it's grown on me quite a bit since the review. And then, since we've been talking about it a bunch, Emergency on Planet Earth. A very good album.
Yeah. And I also like to throw in my honorable mentions of things that didn't quite make the list, but I think are still recommended listens. One be Ready to Die by Notorious B.I.G. Classic hip-hop album. OK Computer. I think if we're talking about emotion, like we were, Matt, this one has it in spades. Very pristine, almost post-apocalyptic. Oh, you definitely got
one of the
listen.
ones I never listened to.
I think you'd appreciate this one.
That's by Radiohead, right, Cooper? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think they just released all of their albums on YouTube to listen to for free.
Hey, wow, even better.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
They just did
were
that
pretty
today, so.
forward-thinking. But yeah, it's kind of a pristine, almost post-apocalyptic take on like alternative rock. A good listen. Also like to throw out a mention to Apricot Princess. It's lower on the list in terms of honorable mentions, but still I think a sweet little listen. I'd be remiss if I didn't give our queen, Billie Eilish, a throw out when we all fall asleep. Where do we go?
Milady.
I think both me and Sam were both surprised with how much we enjoyed this album. Especially since it's not, we're definitely not the target audience for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 classics, America and The Wall, are both, just classic albums. The Wall, obviously, a classic rock album by Pink Floyd, and America by America, just a delightful listen that I've fallen asleep to a couple times.
It was so relaxing, I even fell asleep while we were moving my sister into her apartment for college.
Yeah. And I mean that in the best way possible. Not boring, just...
Oh, yeah. Just very, very relaxing.
All right, and with those out of the way, we can go on to the moment we've all been waiting for, which is our top number 1 album that we've reviewed of 2019.
Go right ahead, Cooper.
I'll start it off, and I threw it back and forth of where I wanted to place at number 1. And honestly, if we're just looking at it as what I've replayed the most, what I feel like I've gotten the most enjoyment out of, and the one that has maybe a little bit of sentimental value to me, that would be the Now Now by Gorillaz.
Boo.
It was actually the hey, respect opinions. Rule
No.
number 1 or
No
rule number 4.
respect. It's,
But this was
I disagree.
okay.
I disrespectfully disagree.
Now let me explain. It was the actual first album that we reviewed on this show.
We did a very bad job reviewing it.
It was a terrible review. We had no idea what we were doing. I probably said the phrase. I said the phrase that so yeah, probably like 100 times. But like I said, I vibe with this album. It's got this laid back energy. The vocals I think are amazing and fit the album's character perfectly. It's got some synth songs that I really care for, some more acoustic ones like Idaho, and like some actual singles like Humility and Zurich Lake, where it's just, they take you to different places, but they all come together to form, I think, one of the most cohesive characters of an album. Well, there might not be like an overarching theme or story. I think sonically it's very cohesive. And gosh darn, I just listened to this album so much.
Magic City is probably my favorite on there.
Magic City's a great song.
Idaho, maybe, actually.
And I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like it's not even my favorite Gorillaz album, honestly, but just this one just makes me feel happy. It makes me feel laid back. I feel like I can listen to this on a spring or a breezy summer day and just kind of float away to my happy place. And yeah, so I think that makes it my number 1 album that we've reviewed so far.
It's a pretty good album. I'll give you that. So it was a real struggle for me to sit down and decide what my number 1 is going to be. But it was another early one we did. But I think I'm going to have to go with Billie Eilish. Time by ELO.
Yeah, I was
I'd be there for a second.
I was about to congratulate you.
Really? Did you think it would be anything else?
No, but I hoped.
And since I'm only allowed 1 slot, this is Time, Alone in the Universe, not From Out of Nowhere. That I don't think that deserves a 1 slot. But I listen to Alone in the Universe literally every time I get in my car. That is my go-to. I need to drive somewhere. I need something that'll keep me focused. Slap that on, sing along. That is my go-to album, and it's only like half an hour long, so it's not like a time sink. And then Time, phenomenal album, way ahead of its time, pun intended. It tells a great story. Way better with the bonus tracks as well, which sadly we didn't review, but Julie Don't Live Here Anymore and Bouncer are amazing songs that they just should have made the album longer and put those on there. But it's one of my favorite albums of all time. So
Dude, I didn't think you'd pick an ELO album.
Really?
Yeah, no. You were talking trash about them, so I figured.
Well, we're never going to review those again, so, well, maybe
That's
we
true.
will. I can't say never.
I'm sure we'll talk about more ELO albums in the future.
Yeah, we still got
Back
Secret Messages, we still got
Only
El
time will
Dorado.
tell.
No, but they are very enjoyable albums. I rank them both as number 3 on my list as well. Not my favorite ELO albums of all time, but definitely up there.
What would your favorite be then, Coop?
Ooh. Am I basic if I say Out of the Blue?
No.
Because it might be Out of the Blue. That or it's not Secret Messages. El Dorado. I really like El Dorado.
El Dorado's very good. Out of the Blue is just the one everybody knows. I reckon you'd like, what's it?
Discovery?
Maybe. I can't remember
I like
the one
Discovery.
I was thinking
Balance of Power.
of. Hey, actually, you know what? I was scrolling back through those songs, like I said before. Not that bad. It just gets a bad rap.
I mean, it's not a great album.
No, it sucks to sit down and listen to every song back to back, but if you've got a shuffle going on and Calling America comes on, you're like, oh, this is a good song. and then Is It Alright comes on later. You're like, oh, this is a good song. All the songs are good in their own right. It's just there's too much synth back to back to listen to it all at once.
Well, definitely they're one of their weaker albums, if not the weakest.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, but that's a good first choice, Sam. I mean, they are great albums.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Matt? You got a number one?
My number one is Billie Eilish, 21st Century Breakdown by Green Day.
Again,
Billy Joel Eilish.
Billie Joel Eilish.
very little surprise here.
Yes, Matt's a bit of a Green Day head.
Yes, I very much enjoy Green Day, except for the trilogy albums they spat out. They were trash, but we won't talk about it. Yeah, this album I feel has every song is really good to me. Again, I like albums that tell a story, and this is literally a rock opera that's supposed to tell a story.
You should listen to Time.
I should listen to whatever I want.
His body, his rules.
Respect my body. They got a pretty neat band, pretty neat sound, pretty neat album.
A little band called Green Day, if you ever never listened to them.
Green Day got a new album coming out February.
Ooh, and I'm looking forward to that.
And their singer's what, like 50, but he looks 12?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy. They've been a band for almost 30 years now.
Yeah, they are. They've been together a long time.
Since 1989.
What's the guy with the
so it's been
tattoo
30 years.
mustache? What's his name?
What was that, Sam?
What's the guy with the tattoo mustache name?
Oh, is that
Trey Cool.
Trey Cool.
Trey
What a
Cool,
man.
Mike Barrett, Billy Joel Armstrong. Or Billy Joe Armstrong, I don't know why I said Joel.
Oh, you know why.
I know why, but I didn't want to admit it.
Oh, yeah. Now, that I enjoyed that album, listening through it with you, Matt. The whole three-part saga it had going on.
Mm-hmm. Didn't make it into either of our top lists or honorable mentions, but it was still a good album.
Yeah,
I was surprised. A little taken aback, honestly.
No.
A little bit appalled.
Completely disgusted.
In fact, I disagree entirely.
And you're right to do so, but... Sorry, like I said, we just listened to a lot of good albums this year.
And that's the magic of this podcast, though, Matt. You have the ability to come in here and be flat out wrong, and we'll still love you for who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Sam, you don't have to talk about yourself that way.
Sam actually hates ELO. He just can't bring himself to admit it.
I would not listen to 3 albums every day when I was doing homework sophomore year if I hated ELO.
That's true. It's in you. It's in your blood. I think it's been a fruitful year for album listening here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to listening to more in 2020.
Yeah, I can't believe we've gotten halfway through all albums ever released.
Yeah, we're almost to the 50 albums that have been released since music was invented in 1987.
Well, music technically wasn't invented until Harvey J. Music first tried to shout a single note multiple times in 1814.
Yeah, and then it wasn't rediscovered until 100 years later.
Is that what caused the French War?
Yep.
Yeah, no, everyone was... He was a really bad singer. Music did not get off on a good foot.
That was actually why the Archduke was killed. He was attempting to stifle the rediscovery of music.
Wow. Well, it was worth it. Music is a mistake. Audio shop.
Canceled.
Canceled. No, but I'm looking forward to reviewing some more albums come 2020. I'm sure we'll have some more classics mixed in. I'm sure we'll listen to some more albums coming out. Like
Hello?
Like what?
And,
Are you still there,
like what?
Cooper?
what's that?
Like
Cooper?
what?
Oh, did I
I can still hear his voice.
Okay, did I cut out a little bit?
Yes, you did.
So I said we'll be listening. I'm sure we'll be listening to some new classics in 2020. New albums like the new Green Day album. I'm sure we'll give a listen to.
Ooh woo.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. hopefully we'll do so. I'm not sure when our first podcast will be though, since we're going to be gone.
Yeah, we'll have
the second
our holiday extravaganzas will be going on. But if you keep a lookout on that old Twitter page at AudioShop14, you can keep updates of when our first 2020 episode will be coming out.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so we're not doing one next Sunday because we are going to be
out of
chilling.
town.
Actually, we won't be out of town.
Really.
But,
Well, pretty much.
yeah.
And then, yeah, so keep an eye on that to see what our first album of 2020 will be.
And if you've just tuned in, the rare chance that you saw, hey, what's this audio shop? Man, this screen of just a Yule log burning and 3 guys talking into somewhat crappy microphones. I'll listen to this for a bit. If you like this, go to Audio Shop on YouTube, and we have all our past archive of episodes there. Matt is only in one of them.
I'm only in one. It's a travesty, honestly. I was supposed to replace Cooper long ago.
Oh yeah,
But,
it's like in Blue's Clues.
Yeah. Steve was always better, though.
That's true.
Just go check it out. The earlier you go, the worse they get, I think. But
Oh yeah. It's a little comedy value though.
I think only if you know us personally, it's comedic. Otherwise, it's just kind of cringy. So yeah.
Some people just like cringe things.
Ugh. I'm not sure anyone out there is that big of a masochist though to listen to some of the earlier ones though, Matt.
I know I'm not.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You guys got any spare tires this week?
Ooh, thank you for reminding us, Matt.
Oh.
I actually do.
I'll
I'd
switch
say,
the screen then.
Yeah, so beyond just obviously the albums we've been talking about right now, I'd recommend giving a listen to, I keep a list of albums that I've listened to for the first time, and a list. Let's see, that'd be, give a listen to Jamiroquai's Automaton. So that's their most recent album, Automaton. I think that's pronounced. It might just be automaton, but
Cooper's making a big fool of himself on the internet.
oh no, I've been duped. But yeah. So that came out. That's actually the most recent album. It came out in 2017. I've only just now gotten around to listening to it, and JK's sounding just as good as always.
It's automaton, Cooper.
Automaton. Darn it! I thought maybe in Britain they pronounced it the different way.
No.
No.
No. But yeah, give that a look. See if you like Jamiroquai at all. Definitely not as good as their earlier albums, but still it holds up. I think it's worth the listen. I'll listen to the early albums first if you haven't.
And I've not been listening to music since I've been just sat at my desk watching YouTube videos and Civil War documentaries by Ken Burns. So I don't know.
That can be your spare tire.
Yeah.
Ken's Boar.
Any documentary by Ken Burns. The Vietnam one's pretty graphic. I immediately tabbed out of that one. But the older it is, the less graphic it is, and it's just pictures.
Plus we're good friends with a Civil War. We're good friends with a Civil War vet. So
oh yeah, we met one.
Or the ghost of
who
one.
Had died during the Civil War.
Oh man, good guy.
Real crazy about Jesus.
Who isn't? 'Tis the season. But yeah, so I think that's about all we've got left for today.
I've got a spare tire.
Oh
yeah.
You do? Sorry, yeah, Matt.
You're usually not here.
Can't believe you'd forget about me.
No, throw it on us.
Lost the forgotten third podcaster. This one's actually on the list. I've never actually listened to the full album before, but it's Artificial Selection by Dance Gavin Dance. And this past week I've actually been listening to the full album to eventually get ready for when maybe you guys will listen to it.
Ooh.
But particularly on that album, I've been listening to a lot. It's not my favorite song, but it's called Count Basie, and it has the sickest breakdown I've ever heard at the end. And it's like hair on the back of my neck stands up every time I listen to it.
And now Dance Gavin Dance is a little close to your heart. So
Well, we were forced to listen to it during senior design lab by RTA, and it might be Stockholm syndrome, but
think it
you just keep coming back to those good memories.
Exactly.
Long nights in the lab. To be young again. But yeah, so
But
that's
anyway.
everything we got to say for 2019.
Yeah, we did the outro already, so no point in repeating it. But thank you all for listening. Happy whatever holiday you celebrate. Festag, Festivus, Christmas, Hanukkah,
Kwanzaa.
I disagree.
Okay. We
There's
don't
no
like holidays here. Holidays don't exist.
Well, I listed one
That's a
didn't
hot
exist.
take.
Festag is the Total War, or the Fantasy Warhammer Christmas.
That's the only real holiday.
That was the only fake. Well, I guess Festivus is also fake. That's a Jerry Seinfeld Christmas. Anyway.
But Jerry Seinfeld's real in our hearts.
Yeah, actually, not a real person. Thank you all for listening once again, and we will see you in the new year.
2020, baby, here we come.
See you later, shoppies.
Later, shoppies.
Oh, Lord, there's two of them.
All right, goodbye.